What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here. And the Senate has passed for the final vote here in the Senate. We'll go over what this means here. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. We'll go over the details that are coming in as of right now. And there's been a lot of amendments that were proposed by both the Republicans and the Democrats. It looks like hundreds of them. We're trying to go over all the details as of now. We'll go over what is kind of coming in here as we're going over this details here as of right now. Here's kind of what we have right now so far. Plus, in this video, I'm going to tell you about new checks that are going out for $200 per adult, $400 for married couples, $250 per child, up to $750, and multiple different checks here in this video. So make sure to watch all the way to the end of this video. Yeah, so you can see here, Senate passes the Inflation Reduction Act, sweeping tax, climate package, all sorts of different things in this package. Really a host of all sorts of miscellaneous bill. Vice President Kamala Harris breaks the 50-50 tie. All Democrats in the Senate voted yes, or Senator Bernie Sanders and another senator are considered independent, and all Republicans voted no. And Vice President Kamala Harris had to step in to be the 51st tiebreaker. There was a lot of controversial things that went down as well. Some of the things in this bill, the long-awaited $740 billion bill, would raise taxes on corporations. That's a tricky word there, because all it's going to do in one sense of the word is make corporations that make at least $1 billion pay at least a 15% corporate tax. The corporate tax rate is 21%. This just closes a loophole to make them pay at least 15% if they're not already paying 15%. Remember, the corporate tax rate is 21%. Former President Donald Trump and the Republicans lowered it from 35% down to 21% in the 2017 Trump tax cuts, which made a drastic tax reduction for large corporations. Tackling climate change, lowering prescription drug costs, and reducing the deficit. The bill was approved on Sunday afternoon after a full night and morning in which senators worked nonstop, basically about 24 hours, after the considerations of amendments to the legislation. Democrats and Republicans all pretty much generally stuck together, and mostly both parties pretty much voted along party lines. A last-second hiccup occurred when Senator Kyrsten Sinema backed an amendment that extended a cap on the state and local tax deduction known as the SALT deductions. That was a key feature of the 2017 Trump tax cut bill. It was seen as endangering the bill because the ceiling on the deduction hurts many households in blue states and districts. 7 Democrats ended up backing the amendment offered by Senator John Thune, a Republican, but any damage was undone by the immediate passage of another amendment that replaced the SALT cap extension with a different revenue stream. So there you go. A vote on the final passage took place. Several Democrats offered hugs to Senator Kyrsten Sinema, who had been involved in a number of negotiations over the bill in the last several days that worried some that she might not vote for it at all. A vote-a-rama on the bill started just before midnight, and really, Republicans and Democrats had a barrage of amendments. You can see here one such amendment sponsored by Senator James Lankford, a Republican, would have pulled $1 million, which is a tiny amount, from the Affordable Care Act to maintain the Title 42 health order to deny migrants seeking asylum entry into the United States. Democrats defeated another amendment by Senator Lindsey Graham to strike a 16.4 cent a barrel tax on imported petroleum products and crude oil refined in the United States. That would be the federal gas tax. That's interesting. So what's interesting here is there was a bit of a problem with this that went on the at the Capitol here today. Lindsey Graham was warned to follow decorum rule after he attacked a Democratic senator with insults there at the Capitol today regarding this particular thing. He accused Democratic Senator Maggie Hassan of being deceitful and dishonest and vowed, "We're going to call you out." Apparently, Maggie Hassan had a version of the same bill that Lindsey Graham had. Graham said this gives a phony and cynical a bad name. Graham's outburst at Hassan prompted Senator Chris Murphy, who was in charge of the process at the time, to give him a sternly reminder that senator not to impugn the motives of a fellow senator, and you have to address fellow senators in the third person. And that Hassan proposed an alternative to his amendment to strike the 16.4-cent tax on imported petroleum products and foreign oil refined in the US. But to strike a 16.4-cent tax. But I don't think this passed either way, either of their amendments. So there's that. Another amendment sponsored by Republican Senator Mike Crapo would have barred the IRS from auditing individuals and business owners with income under $400,000. But you can't just say in those type of terms that you're going to never audit anybody making under $400,000. I know that might sound like a good theory, something good in theory, but you can't just do that. In the end, the bill will raise about $300 billion in new tax from wealthy corporations that make over $1 billion a year. They're going to have to pay a minimum of 15% taxes if they pay less than that. Remember, the corporate tax rate's 21% to begin with. Substantially reduce global warming emissions by 2030. Give Medicare broad new power to negotiate lower prescription drug pricing and cap insulin at $35 for Medicare. There was another amendment here. I covered this in the previous video here. You can see here from CBS News. And again, it doesn't really who it comes from. This is just what happened here. Senate Republicans block $35 cap on price of insulin from the Democratic bill. There was 7 Republicans that backed it because it's only covered from Medicare. The Senate parliamentarian ruled that it can't be covered for private health insurance, or if you work at a job, if you're not covered under, a government program like Medicare or something like that. And 7 Republicans actually wanted to back it and voted yes, and they only needed 3 more votes. But Lindsey Graham and Republican Senator Ron Johnson led the charge to not vote yes on it, which would have saved millions and millions of Americans that take insulin. I've actually seen a lot of comments from people already in the last video of people. One lady said that I think she said her brother lost his legs because he wasn't able to afford insulin. My heart and thought goes out to everybody who's been affected. I know I've seen some comments from people who said they've lost a family member from insulin. Insulin's very expensive. I think I've seen another comment from somebody that said that they went to get a cash price for insulin from somewhere, and it was $128 for one EpiPen, for one insulin pen, and yeah. It's outrageous. This bill, so this is going to drastically reduce the price of insulin for people under Medicare, which is, I think it's, tens of millions of people. So there's a lot of good things in this bill, and again, not looking this at as Democrat or Republican. And going forward over the years to come, this is going to reduce the cost of many more prescriptions going forward. As the years go by, there's going to be more prescriptions that are affected here. Not now. Let's be honest here. Not this stuff is not going to kick in tomorrow. This stuff is going to take time to kick in. That's just got to be realistic here. I think I've seen a comment from somebody said, yeah, this stuff, it takes time to kick in. And a lot of this stuff, the prescription drugs especially, has a phase-in time to it, especially with new drugs, okay? I think the last version of the bill, a lot of this could have been amended here. We're going to get a lot more details as the days come out here of what was actually passed. The other thing I really need to note here, this is what I really need to note here as we're going forward. The bill has to go to the House now, okay? The bill has to go to the House. It was passed in the Senate. It has to go to the House now. So the House can add amendments. The House can change the bill. The House and Senate have to pass the exact same bill, okay? So there's also healthcare subsidies in there for Obamacare and people on healthcare. There's like over 10 million people that get healthcare for free or drastically reduced from the government. Okay, that was set to expire here. I think like within the next month or two, and that would have cost a lot of money for a lot of people here in the United States. That will be extended. Okay, I think it's for 3 years. Okay, that's in the bill as well. And without that, there's a lot of people that would have straight up lost their insurance because they wouldn't have been able to pay for it, or their insurance would have gone up dramatically. That's in the bill as well. So again, inflation reduction. There is a lot of things in there. I get that a lot of people. There's a lot of political opinions on this, but just looking at it from like a middle of the road type of thing, there's some good things in there, and there's some bad things in there as opposed to like if we go with like what Senator Bernie Sanders says. He's disappointed in there. Like he tried to make several amendments and was just flat out shot down. For example, I know that one of the big ones, two of the big ones that he tried to make was, we'll go back to the prescription drug things. He said, I know this because I happened to see this one. He said, or maybe it was in the previous video, he said, the VA, Veterans Affairs, has been negotiating prescription drug pricing for years. Did you know that? And they've been getting prescription drug costs for way cheaper than Medicare and other government services, like 50% cheaper, I think he said, for many, many years. That's the power of being able to negotiate. But the problem is that there's just a lot of people in Congress that are like being paid off or in the pockets of pharmaceutical companies. I don't know. You can let me know your thoughts here. But his amendment was simply, let's make it so that any government organization, Medicare, anything like that, right, pays the same price as the VA. The VA has already negotiated the stuff. They've been doing it for years. They're pros at it. Our veterans are, some of the most trustworthy people that like they've been doing this, right? They've already get cost. They already get drugs at lower cost, right? Amendment was shot down. Amendment was shot down. He also had another amendment to have the child tax credits passed, added into this bill. That bill was shot down as well, or that amendment was shot down. Now that one was, I did see the details on that. There's a lot of details coming in. It's really hard to even go through all this because again, they were at this for 24 hours, hundreds of amendments on all this stuff. That was shot down as well, 99-1, which is sad, but I know the details on is he wanted to pay for the child tax credits with raising the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%. Now, that was something that was on the table to begin with. He was the only person to vote for it. The only person to vote for it. Now, I know that a lot of people don't want to raise the corporate tax rate to begin with, so maybe that's why they didn't vote for it. Now, the interesting thing is that overwhelmingly the majority of Democrats want to pass the child tax credits or the enhanced child tax credits, and there's actually a lot of Republicans that want to do it here as well. So it's not like these type of things can't pass. So I'll be giving you more details here, and remember, it has to go to the House. I do want to end on some good news here because we are getting actually a lot of good news actually from states here. I'll start with some good news here. Just today, another state passes more stimulus checks, taxpayer refunds, whatever you want to call it. I actually have three different states here. So we're actually seeing this a lot more here going on and on and on. And this is the good thing here is that we are seeing more type of relief here coming from states. There is some things in this other bill here, like reducing the cost of prescription drugs, reducing the cost of healthcare, all sorts of things like that. And the energy provisions, which eventually is going to lower the cost of electric bills, maybe even gas. There are things that the oil industry actually backs this, of BP and stuff like that are actually for this bill because it is going to do things like permitting and stuff. So there is actually the oil industry is actually for this bill. Okay. But just today, the Indiana governor signs a bill to give taxpayers a $200 refund aimed at providing inflation relief. This is after Indiana already got $125. So this is the second check for Indiana. Yeah, really good here. Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb signed a bill into law aimed at providing Hoosiers relief from inflation. Senate Bill number 2 will give Hoosiers, the taxpayers, a $200 refund and will allow Hoosiers who didn't file taxes to claim the credit on next year's taxes. So again, if you didn't file taxes, you just might want to go ahead and file just to get the money. The taxpayer refund was originally proposed. He wanted to give $225 refund using about $100 billion of the state's $6 billion reserves. So they still got a lot more money. There could be even more to come. And this shows you how much money states have. California has $97 billion. So a lot of states are giving a lot of money back. The bill also caps the state's gas taxes at 29 cents through the end of June and provides a sales tax exemption for children's diapers. It also creates the Family First Fund with $45 million to provide social services to expecting mothers. Next up, the one-time child tax rebate payment worth $250 per child will be sent out automatically in Rhode Island. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee announced this week a one-time child tax rebate for families will begin rolling out in the fall. The rebate includes $250 per child for up to 3 children in a household will automatically be sent to eligible families starting in October. So September, October, so in 2 months. Yeah, so this is in the state of Rhode Island. $250 per child, up to 3 children. Next up, the state of Massachusetts assures tax relief is coming. They voted on stimulus checks in the state. It failed, but they're going to pass anyways because the state has a bill that says, or a law that says they have to provide money back if they have a large surplus. And they basically said tax relief is going to happen this year, the House Speaker said, despite the failure of approved $250 stimulus checks for middle income residents. But some say that the relief is coming anyways. And that they were blindsided by Governor Charlie Baker and the news from his administration of a 1986 ballot measure that would force the Commonwealth to return about $3 billion of taxpayers' money to the taxpayers this fall. Lawmakers said they could not manage to balance the existing relief mechanism, which also included long-term tax cuts within the final hours of lawmaking, but they're going to do it anyways, it looks like. Yeah, so as you can see, a lot of states issuing stimulus checks. This bill has a lot of mixed opinions here, but it is going to lower the cost of prescription drugs. It's going to lower the cost of healthcare, and we'll have to see what else is in there. And I'll keep you up to date here on a lot of things going on here in our country on a daily basis. So make sure to click the subscribe button down below if you haven't yet, and click the bell icon so you get notifications Also, click the like button if you haven't yet, and I will keep you up to date here on everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. You can click here to watch my newest video next, and you can click here to watch my video on the 20 different states that are sending out stimulus checks and tax rebates now, and there will probably be more to come here as we get closer to the election, and I will keep you up to date here on everything. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.